And as parents, again, we have to work through it on our own so we can be there for our kids. Maybe you're sitting here and you're thinking, gosh, I never even learned this for myself. This is hitting really deep today because I need to work on some of this myself because I'm not even able to do this for my kid right now. Well, that's the whole point. Sometimes we have to do enough work on ourselves so we can be there for our kids as they're going to go through these different things. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. Okay, guys, we're back. I think we're going to add a part 3 to this topic because there's so many life lessons in this. The one thing I think, hon, we should talk about, because I think this happens more than we probably realize in society. And I didn't even recognize it until I read a tremendous book called The Big Leap. And a friend recommended it to me. But what it talks about is how we all hit upper limits. And he was given this great example about how, he gave a few examples in there that are just so spot on. It's like, let's say you have a certain income level you've been used to living at. You work really hard on this new business deal or maybe this new promotion. And he was describing himself, how he just had some new thing that he'd been working for years. All of a sudden it came and it happened. And now here's this humongous promotion. He's sitting there and he's like, okay. He was sitting in his office, just kind of taking a minute and being like, smile on his face, like, wow, I just accomplished this. And all of a sudden his brain shifted off of enjoying the moment into, man, you know what? I just remembered my daughter's in college right now. She's staying in a dorm. She has for a couple years, by the way. And, but I haven't heard from her for a couple of days. I wonder if everything's okay. He's like, oh, maybe this isn't okay. And he starts like almost having a panic attack, and he's trying to call her and she's not answering. She's probably in class or something. And come to find out, she called him back in 30 minutes. She's like, what's going on, Dad? Like, well, everything's fine. Why are you concerned, And he sat there and he's like, I don't even know. But he was talking about how so many times we as people can hit upper limits. And he said, there's like 3 questions you have to ask yourself. It will tell you where you're at, and the first question is, are you willing to be happy some of the time? Like, are you really willing to be happy? Allow yourself to be happy some of the time. The next question is, are you willing to be happy most of the time? Right? And the last question is, are you willing to allow yourself to be happy all the time? And the reality is, if you get really honest, even just asking that question, you're kind of like, it brings up so many weird things within you. Like, I don't know is it right to be happy all the time? There's a lot of wrong going on around us. What about stuff I've done? Am I worthy enough to feel happy? And he goes into this book further on how some of these triggers that come up, because most of us have never given ourselves permission to be happy all the time. And so therefore we set these upper limits. And there's a few things that create upper limits, but one of the things that I want to talk about, because this is one that's been happening in our household, is it's the upper limit of not outshining others.
Right.
And this is a real thing. And honestly, I'm so glad we read this book, because this has happened a few different rounds that I've specifically noticed in our life. It's kind of like as we've been homeschooling our kids, and there's just some topics that one kid might naturally get easier than other kids. Like Chrissy has, one of the things she's very gifted in memorization. She really is, just naturally, compared to anybody, let alone the other siblings, right, that she has. But so she, like when we'll play Bible Jeopardy, and I'll have this list of questions. I mean, by the second time that I go through these lists, which there's a ton of these questions, she is the one like just destroying everyone because
Right.
she just has it recollection power, and so to the point where we've almost had to like have everybody in the family all be a team against Chrissy,
Right.
just to even make it somewhat fair, and she'll still win, right?
Right. Like another example is Bella is such just an avid reader. Like it comes so natural to her. Like she can sit down and she can read and it comes natural and it's easy for her. It's super easy. Or I love like Abby. Abby's such a one that does the research. And she's so gifted in coming up with the right kind of
And
information.
she's a very naturally skilled dancer. Mm-hmm. Like she just has a little bit different gear naturally, right?
Or like Drewsy. Drewsy's just really good at figuring out what needs to be done and just getting it done.
Yeah, he's got a very mechanical mind.
He does. He'll just, okay, I'll shoot over here. We can get this done for the day. And that goes with school. That goes with building stuff. He can just
like
do
anything
that.
that need to be built around the house. He's been doing it on his own now for 3 years. He's only 12.
And
You know
even
what I
like in schoolwork, it's like, all right,
yeah,
the answer is
he
this.
just gets it.
Or like Ellie, oh my gosh, she's so good at making sure that she's now slowing down and doing well with her own skills. You know what I mean? Like she really is just so good at being like, okay, maybe I'm not great at memorizing, but I'll find this trick that works for me type thing.
Right. And so one of the things about this topic is that it talks about how, people even listening to this, you might have this. Maybe you are naturally good at something. Maybe you're naturally better at schoolwork than the other siblings. And one of the things that can happen with well-meaning parents is you come home and say, hey, mom, dad, I got all A's again. But then your sibling who's trying hard might be getting B's and C's. And so that parent then does this, says, you know what, honey, let's not really celebrate this too much because we don't want to make your younger brother feel bad. Right. And so then you start learning that, oh, I have to kind of tone down what I'm capable of becoming so that way I don't lose love or make someone else feel worse that I love. Right. And this is a really real thing. And we're experiencing right now with sports. This whole scenario that we just described about the twins coming in, hey, I had one varsity, they're really advancing, or, Jerusalem getting there. And then Chrissy wasn't naturally accomplishing what she needed to. And, the thing that we have been very intentional about now is that we not only have to have these conversations with Chrissy like we did in the last 2 episodes, about how do you overcome this? How do you see this right? How do you use the $1 million formula for emotional stability and advancement? How do you do this? How do you turn this into positives? Like there's so many life lessons. But for Drews, like one of the conversations I'm going to have with him that I've only kind of touched on, but I'm going to have a real one with him soon, is that, listen, no matter where Chrissy's at, you need to double down and be amazing. And we are going to celebrate you succeeding. We are going to make a huge deal out of it. And we're going to train Chrissy to also be very excited for you. Because I don't want him to start trying to hold back, kind of like I got in varsity, but maybe I should go down to JV so we can be together. No, you shouldn't. You should try to become the best varsity player ever, right?
Right. And it's so interesting you're talking about that because it just made me realize I was having a conversation with one of my friends that was over the other day. And this is like, again, as parents, you probably can think about this, is finding happiness for others, even if you're not in a happy place. It's almost like that, like letting other people shine, even if you're not in a shining moment, if that makes sense. And we were just talking about even children, children go through different stuff. And some parents, their kids are in like a really good place. Like they're in a really good place. Like school's going well, sports is going well, like friendships are going well and all that kind of stuff. And then how many times is another parent like, our house, we're kind of dealing with some stuff. My little one didn't find a friend yet, or school's a challenge this year, or sports didn't work out like we wanted. You know what I mean? And you can feel for that other person, but on the flip side, be excited for the one that's in a good season.
Right.
And that goes for all areas. I mean, like teaching our kids to be excited for others in our household that are excelling in sports, relationships, school, and also not to ever drum it down for anybody. You should never have to stop celebrating just because somebody else is not being celebrated or in a celebrating season of their life. It's so important for all of us.
It is huge. And again, this comes up a lot, right? Today's world revolves around comparison.
Right.
Today's world revolves around trying to make you feel like you're missing something.
Yes.
I mean, I was just talking to a coaching client yesterday. I said, you need to understand what marketing is and how, if you don't understand how to package this properly in your mind, it can really affect your self-image. It can really affect your identity because you're bombarded constantly with this concept of, all right, I'm looking at this thing on social media. I'm looking at this ad on TV in between, the breaks of a basketball game. I'm looking at this thing in a magazine. I'm seeing the ad on a billboard. And what do they all say? They all say, here is this perfect model of something. You don't have it. You are not it. But by the way, if you buy this product, it'll get you closer to this, right? You right now kind of stink, but if you buy this product, you can become great. And the great is what we show you over and over and over. It's nuts, like when you watch the studies of, okay, what does society consider a beautiful woman over generations?
I know
over
what you
decades.
consider a beautiful woman.
My wife, yes. But at the same time, if you really think about it, how things have changed. At one point there was a certain shape that the whole society considered was beautiful. Why? Because the whole society keeps putting it in front of you that this is what beauty is. Then eventually it turns into, you got to be 6'4" and skinny as a rail. And that is considered beauty, right? And then it turns into, okay, you have to have a certain amount of procedures done to your face in order to be able to keep up, because if your lips aren't plump enough, or if your cheek aren't high enough, or if you have a single wrinkle, then that's not beauty in today's world. So an industry gets birthed out of this, and it's just, the thing about it is, I'm not trying to knock all these other industries. I'm trying to just say, man, this spills over into everything else. And people wonder why here you are fighting so hard to try to become something you were never even intended to be. And that creates all this confusion. Well, you got to stay on this, especially with kids at an impressionable age like they are right now. That's why all of these conversations, whoever's listening to this out there, if you guys have heard our first couple of episodes, which I always suggest to everybody when they start listening to this, is you just need to know that, the part of the main reason we want to do this is because we want our kids to be able to go back and listen to this. We want to memorialize information that we know is so vitally valuable for them to not only be champions, but to raise champions. And I can't see this speed or slowing down in the world, the comparison idea. So you have to learn how to navigate within it.
Right. And on top of that, be happy in it. That's the whole key to this. You got to navigate it and be happy through it. Because all of us are going to go through seasons of feeling like we're not measuring up. All of us are going to feel like we're not worth it. All of us are going to feel like we didn't make it, And what do you do when those situations happen is the key to this whole thing. And how you walk through that journey defines how you're going to excel or not excel in the future. Right. And as parents, again, we have to work through it on our own so we can be there for our kids. Maybe you're sitting here and you're thinking, gosh, I never even learned this for myself. This is hitting really deep today because I need to work on some of this myself because I'm not even able to do this for my kid right now. Well, that's the whole point. Sometimes we have to do enough work on ourselves so we can be there for our kids as they're going to go through these different things, and I think it's super important. I will just tell you, parents, how we help our children navigate through different situations will determine how they navigate through things as parents, as adults, and we have to be there to walk through this. And if you don't know how to do something, there's opportunities to figure that out right now. You can figure that out by really growing and changing yourself right now. It's so powerful. It's so powerful.
It is. And I think we all need this. One of the things that you and I know that we're going to start launching probably as soon as next month is our Man Maker program. And it's going to be a monthly subscription where we can actually dive into some real topics because let's just face it that, we're you and I have been working on stuff a lot for 2 decades now. We've made literally a living, a lifestyle out of growth, out of personal growth, out of studying, out of, hiring coaches and mentors, out of having to go through a lot of stuff to undo things in our mind that were negatively affecting us. And so there's probably a lot of parents that can hear something like this and it's like, man, I want to do this for my kids, but I don't even know how to do it for me right now. And so one of the things we're going to create is a program where we're investing into not only men, it's going to be families, really. We're probably going to call it Man Maker, but it'll probably really have a lot to do with men and women. And it's going to go through a lot of topics like this about how to optimize yourself, how to overcome wrong thinking, how to get your identity back, how to operate as, really a victorious child of God, how to understand that there's a purpose for your life, and that how you can actually work on getting yourself to the point where you can fulfill that purpose. And then how do you then, as you get healthier, how do you help everyone around you get healthier?
Correct.
And so that's coming up. We'll get more info out about that. I think it's going to be really fun. But I want to talk next episode about optimized living. I want to talk a little bit about that for an episode because it's been on my heart a lot. I've been getting a lot of coaching around this lately, and I think it could really benefit people. Cool?
Great.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.